topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with world high-stakes golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a glittery, glowing day, just like me today. We'd like to welcome you to our podcast. You know, I'm announcing my new brand, Glitter Granny Gifts, to give or to get. And this is so exciting to share with everyone. I'll be sharing glittering canes, drinks, hats, jewelry, phones, everything. You name it, you'll be able to find it there at glittergranny.com. I become an associate affiliate at Amazon in my old age. And I'm helped by my Golden Doodle ginger ale. So get ready to glitter and glow with us. After this podcast, go to glittergranny.com for sure. Now for my listeners, let me ask you a question. Do you remember seeing Hello, Dolly, Mame, and Lacage? These were the shows on Broadway. And, you know, I happened to have been on Broadway in New York in 1963 when I was flying and based there for Eastern Airlines. So tell me, do you know who Jerry Herman is? He is the brilliant person responsible for these incredible Broadway shows that we all have loved through the years. Now, would you like to meet someone who can tell us the inside story about this amazing man? If you can answer yes or maybe to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. And I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Senior Success. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. But before I do that, time to rest, relax. Go get some wine, get some crackers, get some cheese, and join us in the no wine zone. My guest today is Jerry Herman's goddaughter, who will be sharing behind the scenes celebrity production stories from his amazing life. Our guest, by Jerry's own admission, was the most important person in his life other than his mother. And she is the manager of the Jerry Herman LLC and estate. She'll share rare personal insights into the mind of this legendary man. Today, it's my pleasure and welcome to the show today, Jane Dorian, the goddaughter. Hello, Jane.
Hello, January. And oh my goodness, you are as scintillating as your jewelry. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Well, I've been looking forward to this because, as I said in the introduction, I was there in 1963. That's when I was 21, And Broadway, New York, it was the most exciting time. And those were some of the very first Broadway shows I was fortunate to ever see. Let's start with your connection. How did you become his goddaughter?
It's a great question. So my mother and Jerry met the first day of college at the University of Miami when they were 17 years old. And they were the two skinniest kids that ever existed. They circled one another that day at the quad and never said a word. That night, there was a freshman party. And Jerry was at the piano playing the American Songbook. My mother, who was a trained singer, sat down next to him, started singing, and the two of them made music together until the day she passed away, unfortunately, way too soon. But that is what they did together, and it was quite a relationship. They were the brothers and sisters that never were.
Okay. That was my next question. Was it a romantic thing, or were they a brother sister and they had a very platonic friendship? For how many years were they friends?
Oh my goodness, 17 to 62. I'd have to do the math, but probably 40 at least 40 years. I mean, that was quite something. I mean, they were so close that they could walk down the street, really not even talking to one another, and then out of the blue, they would start singing the same song and in the same key. How do you explain that?
Yeah, that's just, that's karma. That's karma. And that's also charisma when two talents like that can get together. So your mother was very talented, and we all know Jerry was extremely talented. Did she ever perform in any of his shows, like Oh, Hello, Dolly or Mame?
No, I think she was pregnant with my brother during that time period. However, she did all of his backers auditions, and she did perform in his Broadway show, The Grand Tour. She did many concerts with him over the years. So she was just an integral part of his career.
Oh, wonderful. Now, okay, they're 17, and what happened after they left college? And
well, let's hear even what happened in college. So, I mean, Jerry's parents had a camp called Stissing Lake in the Berkshires, and so Jerry was the musical director. So he basically grew up directing and writing special songs for the camp and lighting them and writing them and everything. So by the time he got to college, he was writing the reviews. He did shows in college. A lot of times, my mother, Jane Dorian, would be the musical director or the musical supervisor of those shows. So then by the time he graduates from college, he is playing the piano at piano bars, and he lived on his tip money. And then all of a sudden, the off-Broadway shows started to come. So I Feel Wonderful and Madame Aphrodite. And then he was asked to do Milk and Honey. So I don't know, that was his first Broadway show. So that was about Israel, what it was like to go to Israel, the romance between an American and an Israeli. And through their eyes, we get to see really the birth of a nation and all of the promise that Israel had to offer. And Jerry had never been to Israel. So he's flown over there and he is stunned. He said, you only really need one word, and that's shalom. And that was the first song that he wrote for Milk and Honey. Okay. So it's quite a beautiful, beautiful score. And as a matter of fact, I always say that show demonstrated the promise of his musical ability. The music is so lush, and he really fulfills that promise throughout his entire career.
That was a preview of coming attractions.
Exactly.
Okay, so then he moved to New York. Did your mother also go to New York, or they both were from New York, right?
Well, my mother was actually from North Carolina. Jerry was from Jersey City. And of course, the second he graduated from college, he moved to New York, as did my mother. And my father was from New York. So they all just kind of as a unit moved together. And that was their life. They saw every single show. I mean, I heard stories of how they heard Judy Garland sing, and they would serenade her under her window because they loved her so, so much. You know, great, great New York stories. I mean, can you imagine being young in the 50s and 60s in New York? It was the golden time for entertainment.
Oh, I know. And that's why I was so thrilled to have you come on the show and share some of these stories with us, because I was there. I was in the back row. That's about all I could afford. And a lot of those shows we would standing room only. And that was the cheapest way to get in. And it was the best way to see the most incredible shows that have ever been on Broadway. Don't you?
Agreed. Agreed. And I think when Hello, Dolly came to be, it was a very significant show. It was the first happy musical after the Kennedy assassination. And the country really needed to grieve. And the show is at its core about second chances. And I really feel that that song was a second chance for this country to heal. And, you know, and then you couple that with Louis Armstrong's recording of Hello, Dolly that came out before the show opened. And that was a throwaway recording because that's when they did 45s. You and I are old enough to remember the 45 records. And if you've got some young viewers who don't know about it, they were essentially singles where a very popular song was recorded on side A and side B was a throwaway. And every once in a while you got lucky with a good song. Well, Louis Armstrong was in the studio recording his song A, and then one of the musicians said, "Why don't you just try this song, this Dolly song?" He just literally improvised the whole thing.
Wow.
And it knocked the Beatles off the charts.
Oh my gosh. Putting a Broadway show together is just an amazing undertaking. Could you kind of share a little with our listeners what goes into it, how long it takes, and share a little bit about the difficulty in casting these type of shows?
Let's start with your first question, and I think it's a great question. Putting together a Broadway show is the ultimate in collaboration.
Okay.
Because Jerry would always rely on source material to write the songs. And his genius was understanding that the emotion was so pure that it became universal. However, without a great book, without a great libretto, where does he put a song? Why does a character even need to sing? And so you have that very first collaboration. And then you have a director who can basically pull it all together. And the choreographer is so important, and the lighting and the sound and the musicians. And back in those days, you had full orchestras. You had orchestras between 25 and 30 piece orchestras, and the sound was glorious. So it really, no man is an island, you know, when it comes to a Broadway show. So yes, the casting is hugely important, but many people may not know Carol Channing was not the first choice for Hello, Dolly. As that may be to believe, because she was the most iconic. She was Hello, Dolly. Yeah. But initially, Jerry had thought that Ethel Merman would be Hello, Dolly. And I can really see that. I mean, that big voice, but she was exhausted. She had come off a show and she wanted a break. But she was the last Dolly. And when she did perform Hello, Dolly, he gave her a brand new song to sing.
Oh, really?
In my window. So that was pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
And then Nanette Fabre was offered it, and she declined. And then the third one was Mary Martin, and Mary Martin was committed to a show, and that closed 3 days after it opened. And I'm sure she was very upset she didn't, take it. And then there was Carol Channing, and thank goodness. I mean, you mentioned Karma, or the opening. Karma is huge. This one was just meant to be. Can you imagine anyone other than Carol being Dolly Gallagher Levi?
Oh my gosh, that role was just made for her, and she just was incredible in it. And I just love exactly what you said about the country needed it, because that was 1963, and after the assassination, it was just the country was in depression.
We were.
A tailspin, and to get people to come out, go to the theater, and here's
laugh.
Yeah, laughter and smiles and cheerful. That was like a tonic for the whole country. That's amazing. What a wonderful timing for that. And to find out that she was the fourth choice. Wow.
Right. And so yes, so she became a brand and an institution when she performed Hello, Dolly. And then in terms of casting, it's huge. Whoever is your leading lady or leading man really sets the tone for the show. Jerry very much wanted Angela Lansbury to play Mame. And she had just come off of The Manchurian Candidate, which was a very dark role. And she didn't look particularly glamorous. And there was like certain ick factor to her just because of this role that she had so successfully played. But Jerry knew how glamorous she was and knew that she was his Mame. So he said, Angela, come over. I'm going to teach you 2 songs. She auditioned, and yes, stars did audition in those days.
Oh, they did. Okay.
And so he snuck into the pit and played her 2 audition songs. And after she sang, it's today, and then she sang If You Walked Into My Life. That was it. Game over.
Yeah, that was it. Done. We're going to take a break right now. And for any of the other grannies out there listening, I want to share with you what I've been up to.
Welcome to Glitter Granny Gifts to Give or to Get. Hosted by January Jones, aka Glitter Granny, and her Golden Doodle Ginger Ale. If you're a granny who wants to glitter and glow, it's time to join us for a sparkling shopping experience that will be unique and so very special. Whenever you need a unique and spectacular gift, then Granny will help you find it. Along with gifts for family, friends, and holidays, there are even glitter gifts for coworkers, in-laws, doctors, and you can even find something for your friend who has everything. If you need a really good gag gift, you'll find it here. Hats, canes, shoes, accessories. When it comes to glitter accessories, Granny and Ginger Ale are on board with everything you can imagine, and then some more. The favorites are at her website, and remember, she is adding to this list almost every day with lots of fun gifts to give or to get. Granny has created a website that is glamorous and glows with glitter products to wear or to use every day. As she says, if it ain't got bling, it doesn't mean a thing. Now let me tell you about her glitter hat collection. She actually has too many to count. Her collections are must-have accessories for any glitter granny who enjoys getting attention everywhere she goes. Remember, if people are going to stare at you, make it worthwhile for them. And canes? Everyone will ask you, where did you get it? Can I get one too? Now, just go to glittergranny.com and check it out.
Welcome back with my lovely guest today, Jane Dorian, who is an expert on Jerry Herman. And Jane, before we go on, would you share with our listeners some of the events that you are here to publicize? I'm very intrigued about the 2 auctions that are going to be taking place later.
Yes, so we have 2 auctions. The first one is Jerry's unused crypt. And I must specify that, otherwise it would be a little crowded. So Jerry purchased a crypt at Pierce Brothers Westwood Memorial Cemetery, which is where so many of the talk about sparkling, scintillating stars are buried. I mean, between Farrah Fawcett, Gene Wilder, Jack Lemmon, Truman Capote, just to name a few. Mm-hmm. And his unused crypt is located right next to Hugh Hefner's and one over from Marilyn Monroe's. So if you're the kind of person that wants to spend eternity next to the two sexiest people that ever lived, not to mention the two best marketers that ever lived, this is your opportunity. So it's an auction being held on October 25th at auctionsolutions.com. And it's going to be a lot of fun. In that same auction, Marlon Brando's tuxedo that he wore for The Godfather. So it's definitely worth checking out. The next one is...
Before we go on, I just have to ask, what made him decide not to use that crypt himself?
Great question. So Jerry purchased the crypt back in the 90s when he was dealing with some pretty serious health issues. And fortunately, he was able to overcome them. And while he thought he would be interned there, at the 11th hour, he decided he wanted to be buried next to his two favorite ladies, his mother and my mother. So they are resting for all of eternity right next to one another. And I am sure they are having a ball. Lots of singing, lots of music, lots of laughter.
Oh, wonderful.
That's why that came to be. So the other auction is at Doyle's. Go to doyle.com. And this is Jerry's memorabilia. Now, what many of your audience members may not know is through the ASCAP Foundation, Jerry too has a foundation, the Jerry Legacy Foundation, and he teaches musical theater. He has workshops. And there's this wonderful program that ASCAP does bring mostly to the universities and teaches young kids who are interested in musical theater all about musical theater. They workshop projects. And if there happens to be somebody particularly talented, they're either offered a prize or a scholarship. And this is something that will continue for the foreseeable future. So all of this memorabilia is the proceeds will go to that. But here's a spoiler alert.
Okay.
Jerry's piano is being auctioned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So that's pretty special. So there's literally something in there for everyone. Amazing photographs, furniture, artwork, jewelry, just all sorts of wonderful mementos that he had.
So now, is there a catalog or is there a preview so that
listeners go online? If you go to www.doyle.com and just type in Jerry Herman in the search box, it will bring you up to that auction, and you'll get to see everything. I mean, there are playbills. I mean, things that are autographed. You name it. It'll take you a little bit of time. So while it'll be a live auction, it will be done out of the New York location, and I believe you can attend if you want to, but anybody can participate, throughout the world.
Okay, so it will be pretty much a Zoom auction?
Exactly, as most of them are now today. It's fascinating to see how that industry has changed.
Oh yeah, everything has changed here. But I think in a wonderful way. I know here I've just turned 80, and who would be thinking I'd be working with Amazon and doing the things that I've been doing. It's interesting because I've just been able to invite a lovely lady who's going to be coming on in about 3 weeks. Her name is Mildred, and she just turned 101.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, you know what? To quote a Jerry Herman lyric, you are forever young.
Yes. Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah. And so it's just, there's all kinds of possibilities. And as I was saying, I look forward to making friends with people who are actually older than me, because these days I always feel I'm the oldest one everywhere, but it's a changing time. It's a wonderful time to be a senior.
Absolutely. When you consider the alternative, it's wonderful to reach.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back now. We talked a lot about Hello, Dolly. I thought that was fascinating, how the casting played off in that. And then Angela Lansbury in Mame. That was very surprise casting, wasn't it?
It was unexpected, but it was brilliant. And that was part of Jerry's genius. He just knew who to put in a particular role.
Now, he had 3 shows that went over 1,500 performances, and that's an incredibly long time to be in a Broadway show, because you're talking about 8 performances a week, or?
Yes.
Wow.
8 shows a week. It is remarkable. And, it was kind of interesting. He wrote 3 shows that were wild successes: Milk and Honey, Hello, Dolly, and Mame. And then he wrote 3 songs that did not achieve the same success. I mean, the music is incredible, but he then wrote Mac and Mabel, which is now cult status.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
And maybe his finest score. So some people would say that. I don't know. For me, all of his songs, it's like choosing a favorite child. I just can't do it. I love them all. And then he wrote the Grand Tour. And actually, right after Mame, he wrote Dear World, which Angela Lansbury also starred in, and it won her second Tony Award.
Oh.
So, he was a little bit not shocked, but I think disappointed, because his work was so good, but the shows didn't reach the same kind of critical acclaim as the first 3. So, and then Lacage comes his way, and the rest, they say, is history.
Oh, yeah. That is, and talk about timing, and casting for that. Everything about it was just exquisitely done. And it had such a message that I think was ahead of its time.
Well, it was. It also came out at a very important time. It was 1983, and this was before the scourge of AIDS just hit us. We could. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't in the eye of the public, so to speak. Right. And it was also before gay rights really took hold. So they made a wonderful choice. They felt if they could win the hearts and minds of the general public, then the public would accept the love story between 2 gay men on stage, which was quite revolutionary, including that kiss. But I'll never forget the first time those 2 men kissed on stage. There was a standing ovation. And when they realized that they believed that love story. And at its core, Lacage is really about family. So the audience understood that, gay men could have families, and then it translated to, all aspects, gay, lesbian, LGBTQ. I get my letters mixed up sometimes. I do too. I don't want to miss one of them, but I think it was hugely important. But then there was sort of a tragedy. At the 6-month period, all but one Kajal had died from AIDS.
Oh my gosh.
And we were really hit with the scourge of AIDS. So when you hear someone sing "I Am What I Am," it touches you in a place that you just, it's so deep. It's so deep. And again, the genius of a Jerry Herman song is that just about anybody can sing it, and it means something very important. If you hear Leslie Uggam sing "I Am What I Am,"
I know. It's an anthem, and no matter what age you are, it touches you.
Yes, it's about acceptance. It's saying, hey, look, here I am. I've come out of my closet. It's like taking off all your clothes and being on stage and turning around very slowly and saying, hey, I am what I am. You can accept me or not, but this is who I am. That's a lot of courage. That's a lot of strength.
Now, you were so close to him. What was his, I know they're all his favorite children. Which one do you think it was really the one that held his heart the closest?
Song or show?
Both.
I think he was probably proudest of "And I Was Beautiful" from Dear World, because he talked about how he stripped every extraneous thing away from the song. It was just pure emotion. There wasn't anything extra. in that song. And that's very hard to do. I mean, I think part of the genius of Jerry Herman is that he was able to simply and melodically put forth emotion in a song, but it never became cliche. And that's really hard to do. And that's because he lived in a certain kind of truth. And I think he was very, very proud of that song. I think the counterpoint in the Tea Party in Dear World, that's pretty sophisticated stuff. So, you know, of course, all of Lacage, I Am What I Am, is a very important song. There's another song in Grand Tour called I'll Be Here Tomorrow. And I always felt it was maybe a little autobiographical.
Okay.
You know, so there's so the answer is, I don't know that you can necessarily say there was a favorite song, favorite show, but I know Mac and Mabel was certainly up there.
Oh, incredible. Well, this is wonderful for you to be able to share your special insights, having been so close to him. I mean, he almost liked you better than his mother. How good does it get? It can't get any better.
Well, there was such love and respect between the two of us. And how can I say this? It was just a very pure relationship. And there was never a crossword between us in the whole time. It was real love.
Oh, this is great, because you always hope you're going to, the people you think are incredible in real life, other people feel that way about them, the people closest to them. And I can tell that's the way you feel about it. Did you call him Uncle Jerry, or how
when I was younger, I called him Uncle Jerry. And obviously when I got older, it was Jerry. And sometimes lightning does strike twice. He was like the most perfect godfather when I was a kid. So I asked him to be my daughter's godfather.
Oh my gosh.
And so it inspired a song. And he wrote the theme song for the movie Barney's World of Imagination, the Barney movie. And so Sarah was pretty little, and I think I had like 6 Barney the dinosaurs. I had to constantly wash them because that was her lovey. And so Cheryl Leach asked Jerry to write the theme song for the new movie. And only because of my daughter's love of this, character, he said yes. And it was a 3-day process. And they played with the Barney, ad nauseum. And after the second day, he said, Jane, I don't know if I can do this or not. And the third day, like that, he got it. And he just said, I understand now. Barney is the conduit. It's the window into a child's world of imagination. And we always lived very, very close to one another. So he ran down the hill, went to his piano, wrote the song, came back up the hill, and played Barney's World of Imagination for us.
Oh, thank you. That is so special, so very special. We're going to take a break, and I have something special to share with everyone. After 80-some years, I have written my memoir, and it is now available at Amazon.
Introducing Living and Dying Without Whining, a memoir. 80 years of magical moments, written by January Jones. Ms. Jones shares her most exciting and magical moments. Patriotic moments. Landing on aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. Staying overnight, then catapulting off. Revealing moments. Working for the CIA for 5 years. Thrilling and comforting moments. Meeting Charles Lindbergh and Neil Armstrong together. Sassy moments. Swinging 60s and the 70s. The age of Aquarius. Exciting moments. As a TV contestant on Joker's Wild and Family Feud. Reality moments. Playing in the World Series of Golf on reality TV. career moments. As a stewardess for Eastern Airlines, touching moments. With meeting a half-brother she never knew about. With many, many more magical moments. Living and dying without whining. A memoir. 80 years of magical moments. Written by January Jones. Available at Amazon.com and Audible.com.
You know, I had so much fun writing my memoir. I'm curious to know, did Jerry ever write one himself?
Jerry participated. There were 3 books that he wrote. One focused more on lyrics, the other one about his life. But he kind of shares it all, you know, from the beginning all the way, probably through his 80s.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, So it was, he had quite a life.
Oh, I'm sure. And I can't wait to read it. And I know from personal experience that it's not an easy thing to do. And sometimes it's very hard to be honest about yourself. And, it's kind of a tell-all of your own life. When you look back at his life, that he was so wonderful and he was able to share with you, do you have any special memories of growing up knowing? Did you know how famous he was?
Well, eventually. I mean, when he took me to see Milk and Honey, he put me on his shoulders afterwards and people were just like pawing at him. And I got quite upset. I said, get away. This is my Uncle Jerry, not your Uncle Jerry. I didn't quite understand. But Jerry was a very shy man. He was very introverted and he didn't seek the limelight. He was just so incredibly talented that everybody wanted, a piece of him. My personal, the things that resonate in my heart are the conversations that we had, the great meals we had, laughing. God, the laughter was unbelievable. But a perfect example of that, I went to an all-girls school in New York, and we had a half day on Fridays. So when Jerry was in town, he would often pick me up from school because, that's kind of how it had to be. You had to be picked up or get on a bus or something. And we would walk down Madison Avenue and we'd have a little tea and cookie or croissant at Delessay de la Côte Basque, and then we would go on to the Metropolitan Museum of Art or to the Frick or whatever.
Incredible.
So one day, and he was always, I was in a uniform and he was always impeccably dressed. And he had magnificent style and fashion.
That doesn't surprise me.
So we were walking along, the galleries at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and we would talk about a myriad of things. Mm-hmm. And then we decided we were going to rename the paintings. And we happened to wander into the religious section and looked at the painting of the Virgin Mary. And I said, look what happened to Mabel, which was one of this. Well, don't ask. We were on the floor laughing. He in his, gorgeous, probably Wilts Bashford suit, I in my uniform, and we cannot catch our breath, and we are promptly escorted out of the Met. So, it was like that was life with Jerry. He was so intelligent and he put things together so quickly. Even when we would play games together, he was just light years ahead of everyone else. He loved Scrabble. And I remember when I was a child, he had a fabulous home on Fire Island. He loved Fire Island when he was living in New York. And he had a cat named Mrs. Levi who only loved him. This was a black cat. She was gorgeous, but not the most friendly cat. And so Jerry and I were on the floor playing pickup sticks. And Mrs. Levi thought this was an awful lot of fun. She came to investigate and she starts pawing it. And he goes, Mrs. Levi, you can't cheat.
Oh, well, he sounds like he was just a sweet, sweet person.
He was a sweet person. He was a lot of fun. He also had he had a very good barometer as to what was right and what was wrong. He was just always very appropriate, and he gave great advice, and he really cared. And I mean, and to have someone in your life, I've always felt that there are small parts of the music of La Cage aux Folles that were a little bit about our relationship, like, look over there, somebody cares that much. I always felt that he cared that much about me.
Oh, how special. How special.
Yeah.
It makes me curious with your perspective and your incredible memories and behind the scenes take on things. Have you written a book about him, or would you ever consider doing that?
The answer is never say never.
Okay, I know that.
but my main purpose is I want to make sure that people have access to and hear and see his incredible music and shows. That to me is the best way. If you want to know about Jerry, go see one of his shows, because his philosophy, his thoughts on life, it's all in the music.
It's right there. It's an open book, truly. So you really don't need to write another book. I'm curious, how did he react, and how did he feel about when these masterpieces that he had created were then put into film? Was he involved with it? Did he enjoy it, or was it?
That's a really good question. I don't think he loved either one of his films.
Okay.
I think over time he came to appreciate Hello, Dolly. I think at the time he thought Streisand was a little bit too young to play Dolly, but as time went on, I think he came to realize she did an amazing job. Mame was a little bit more problematic, and at that time, Broadway was Broadway, Hollywood was Hollywood. So,
right.
Maybe when it came to the music and orchestrations, he had a little bit more say, but in terms of directorial or casting choices, not so much. And as a matter of fact, he felt so badly that he never had a great piece of film that showcased his work, that when he was not doing so well in the early 90s, I was able to give him the gift of an evening with Jerry Herman at the Hollywood Bowl that was put on DVD. And the greats, I mean, you had Carol Channing, you had Rita Moreno, you had Michael Feinstein, you had Lorna Luft. I mean, it was sort of like the who's who of Broadway, and they all sang the song. Leslie Uggams performed. Leroy Reams performed. I encourage you to check out the DVD. I'm sure that's on Amazon as well. And it's quite something. And Jerry was so proud of that, because between the orchestrations and the performances, he was over the moon.
Oh, I would have loved to have been there, and incredible. That brings me to my next question, as I know you're very busy with the 2 auctions, and it must be a tremendous job to catalog and to get this all put together, and I take my hat off to you. But down the road, when your life calms down and you don't have that much to do, if that ever happens, do you think you could possibly put together a documentary about his life? Wouldn't that be something?
It would. So I think there is one by Amber Edwards. There's one that exists, but it would be wonderful to do sort of, pick up where she left off. And again, there are a lot of things that you cannot include. So that would be very interesting. And Jerry wrote a concept album called Miss Spectacular, based on a Walter Mitty concept. And it has never been produced before. It was supposed to be produced in Las Vegas, and there were a whole set of circumstances that made it impossible. But I really hope to get that up and running in the not too distant future, because everyone says, oh, just wish there were one more Jerry Herman musical, and I would like to deliver that.
Oh, wow. That's something I would really look forward to. We've gotten into this situation in the evenings. There are so many amazing, incredible documentaries that are being made available, and all of the streaming. I'm just thrilled with it. And he would be a perfect subject just because of the scope of his career. And it's the time, because this time age, so many things were not said, were not done, couldn't be said, couldn't be done. And he kind of broke through that, didn't he?
He broke through it, but more than anything, I miss that Jerry Herman optimism.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we need that.
We really need that. And through his lyrics, and obviously, the music and the lyrics, they do all go together because the music furthers the emotion of the lyrics. But there's always something to look forward to. There's always something to strive for. If there's a problem, he says you can make a difference, or let's look at Mame is about bigotry, and here Gooch was ostracized because she was an unwed mother.
Yeah.
Look how far we've come in life. It's amazing. But he asks you to look at that, or try something different, open a new window. I mean, all of his lyrics.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're stepping forward and sharing him and sharing his auctions. And I think it's so important, because things can tend to get negative lately. And that's not the way he was.
Oh, we're not going to let that happen. You know what?
Yeah,
we're not going to let that happen. There's too much Jerry Herman music that puts a little bounce in our step, and brings a smile to our face. And yeah, we all need Jerry Herman music especially during troubling times right now. Let's find a way to make it the best of times.
Oh, and I have to tell you, I can't tell you how many birthday parties, when you get to be my age, these birthday parties, they keep rolling around, and the best of times, I've heard it all the time, and we all just sing, and everyone kind of sways, and it just speaks to my heart. It speaks to everyone's heart. It's part of an anthem for people who are trying to age gracefully. Don't you agree?
I do. And if you kind of bookend his lyrics if you go to Milk and Honey, there's a song called Let's Not Waste a Moment, Let's Not Waste a Day. Mm-hmm. And you have that as the young man to the best of times. And I really think that he really arts himself musically in a beautiful sort of a way.
Yeah. Brilliant. The man was just brilliant, and we were so lucky to be able to witness his brilliance spread across Broadway and Hollywood and through the entertainment world.
One last point I would love to make, you refer to yourself as a grandmother and everything else. I cannot begin to tell you the number of people that tell me their grandmother was the first person to take them to a Broadway show. And to all the grandmothers and grandfathers out there, please take your grandchildren to a Broadway show, because it opens up a world that's life-changing.
Oh, no. Yeah, and I've tried to do that with my 7 grandchildren. When they get down here to visit Sarasota, we have subscriptions to all the theater programs here, and I always get extra tickets when they're in town, just so they can experience. And there's nothing like that theater going up, and the world just changes right in front of you.
It's so true.
Yeah. I enjoy sharing it with my husband and all my family, and I have enjoyed sharing you, Jane.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and you're an inspiration.
Oh, well, it's been fun having you. And I hope my listeners, I hope you've all enjoyed Jane as much as I have today. I hope you'll check out the auctions and support it, and go check the catalog. Next Thursday, I'm looking forward to welcoming a Pulitzer winner. The author of The Manchurian Journalist will be with us. That'll be wonderful. Thank you for entering the No Wine Zone with me. Share our stories and show with everyone you know. And remember, you need to stop whining and then start smiling again and again. And if that doesn't work, then you can just go out and start eating chocolate. Yeah, lots and lots of chocolate. And be sure to glitter and glow until we meet again. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.
We want to thank you for listening to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Always remember Ms. Jones' personal mantra, if you can think it, you can do it. That's what all of our guests have done with their lives, and so can you. You are the ultimate success coach in your own life. All you need to do will be to start sharing your own story with your family and friends. We hope that our guest stories will encourage you to explore an equation in your future that will combine your creativity plus connecting with others will enable you to be successful too. Always remember, your passion plus your purpose will equal prosperity as you explore the wonderful world of January Jones.